Hi everybody, Donna Guest here, Creative Memories Advisor and the Lazy Scrapbooker. And it's time for the next edition of the Savvy Scrapbookers, and that's when I team up with my friends Nicole So and Debbie Martin, and we split up one paper pack and one embellishment pack and show you how to do 6 pages.
This month we take on Creative Memories Nordic Winter collection.
As the Lazy Scrapbooker, my pages promise to be fast and easy, and this time I'm showing you a trick to get the most out of your paper and save a little money. Let's get started. First, here are the tools you'll need to do these pages. Of course, your 12-inch trimmer. We're going to use the Border Maker system with the Treeline Border Maker cartridge. I'm using Repositionable tape runner because, hey, I'm going to make mistakes and this will let me fix it. And I'm going to use a multi-tool from time to time. And if you have one, a silicone mat is fantastic, especially when we're going to be attaching these trees because it's a bit of an intricate pattern with the Repositionable tape runner. If you don't have a silicone mat, a piece of parchment paper or wax paper from your kitchen will be a great substitute. Here are the supplies we'll need to create my 2 pages. I've got 4 sheets from Nordic Winter. These 2 are matching, blue, and then this pattern on the other side. And then I have these 2 different sheets that both have a wood look to them with a pattern on the other side. Then I've got a nice assortment of embellishments here. The 2 lanterns, the mittens, gloves, skis, some trees, and then this nice tag where I'll put a title or some journaling. For these pages, I'm going to use this double-sided paper using this as a border and this is the canvas for my photos. Now, this is the same piece of paper. I could trim this down and have this as the border. I'm going to need 4 pieces of paper to do that, which is 2 packs of paper. So why don't I just do this? Now, I realize as a person who sells scrapbook paper, this might be bad for business, but that's okay because I do love a good savings, and I know you do too. So this will help you save paper and also keep the weight of your albums down and make it a little bit lighter. So the question is, how big of a border do I want here? If I do just 1 inch, I'm going to get a little bit of this color around here, which looks nice, and it allows me more room for photos. If I do 2 inches, it's going to look a little bit more like this. That looks really good too, but I'm not going to get as many photos, and I kind of run the risk of only 2, possibly 3 photos on a page, unless I go into that margin. I could compromise and do 1.5, which looks really nice. For the sake of this video, I'm going to do 1 inch because the math will be much easier when we're looking at how to do this on the trimmer. So let's just make it simple and keep it at a 1 inch border. Okay, let me show you how we're going to cut this paper. Your first decision is which way you want the paper to go. I've chosen to have my stripes going vertically like this, the pattern. You can choose either way. Just make sure whatever you choose, both pieces are consistent with each other so your pattern looks consistent. Now, we're going to have a 1 inch border going all the way around this 2-page spread. Then in the middle, we're going to flip the paper over and we're going to have this pretty blue pattern, which will look fantastic behind our photos without competing for their attention. So we're going to cut 1 inch all the way around here. Now, before we do that, let me show you something about your trimmer. And if you've never seen it, I'm going to put in the top right corner my 20 favorite features about the 12-inch trimmer. It's a very helpful video. If you've not seen that, you'll learn lots of new things. So on the cartridge housing, you have this white line right here. That represents where your blade is, the center of this, where your blade. And as you may or may not know, the distance between the white line and the edge of the cartridge housing is exactly 1 inch. So you also have this nice ruler going across, kind of hard to see there, but I can see it really well when I'm working with my trimmer. There you go, you can see that. And so, since I can't really always tell where the center is, I know that the edge of my cartridge housing, if it is at the 3 right here, that means my blade is at the 2. Make sense? I have to do just a little bit of math, but not much. So, left-hand page, we're going to cut basically a U shape around this way. So, I'm going to start right here by turning the paper 90 degrees. And then I'm going to line it up at 1 inch. Usually I would push it through the right-hand side, but for these purposes, I'm doing it this way. And we're going to close that. Okay, so we're going to cut a line all the way down until exactly 1 inch from the bottom. So if our paper is going down to 12, and we want our blade to be at 11, the 1 inch from the blade center to the edge of the cartridge housing will make it go to 12. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press down. I'm going to cut all the way until the edge of my cartridge housing gets to the end of the paper. This is why 1 inch was a good choice. It makes this very, very simple. Okay. And there we go. I have a perfect cut with 1 inch to go. So now I'm going to turn my paper and we're going to cut the next leg of this. All right. Lining it up at 1 inch here. Now this time I'm not going to start at the top because I'll cut that edge right off. I'm going to start 1 inch down, which to do that, I'm going to have the edge of my cartridge housing come to the 2 because then I'll know that my blade is at the 1. And again, I'm going to go all the way down till my cartridge housing is at the 12. And see what we've done so far? How cool is that? All right, so now we're going to turn it yet again. And this time I'm just going to push it through to the right-hand side because it is much easier. And I'm going to start at the very top because this one's going to be just kind of a U shape and go all the way down to where the cartridge housing is at the 12, my blade's at the 11. The first time you do this, you may want to try it on a practice piece of paper. Usually I like to use the paper that came out of the paper packs. Like, look, here's where I did a little practicing right here. You can tell that was the back of a paper pack. I wouldn't try it the first time on the paper you intend to use. So now we've got our border on the left-hand side, and we can flip this over, and it doesn't matter which way, and it makes a perfect background there. Wonderful. We have conserved paper. We've got 2 patterns showing up. I like to show a lot of paper where it makes sense, and we're going to keep our albums lighter, and we're saving money. All right, let's go ahead and do the right-hand side. Push that over. And usually I would speed up during something like this, but I'm not going to because you do want to take care to make sure the pattern's going the same way. So you can tell I don't want to put the paper this way because that would not look good. Change of pattern. So I'm going to do this way. So this time we're going to do a U shape this way. Our border is going to go that way. I know we like double page spread, so that's what we're doing here. And hey, I think I'll just push it through the right end here. It is always easier to control and hold onto the paper without it slipping since I'm right-handed. So I'm going to start at the top and go all the way to where, you guessed it, down to where the cartridge housing is at the bottom of the paper at the 12. Usually I'm much faster, but I'm going really slow because I know this might be new. All right, so we're going to turn the paper, and now I'm going to line it over here at the 1. And then I'm going to start up here. Remember, we're going to start 1 inch from the top, so the cartridge housing is going to be down here at this 2. And I'm going to hold this close so you can really see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm hoping I'm going to focus in for you. So my cartridge housing is right there at the 2. All right, let me straighten that up again in case my paper slipped. There we go. All the way down until the cartridge housing comes to the 12 so that I know my blade is at the 11. Almost done. One more turn and one more very easy cut. Starting up here at the 1, so our cartridge housing is at the 2. And I'm going to come all the way down now. Again, I give you permission to mess up your first attempt at this, but just do it on some old scratch paper you don't care about. And we'll turn this. Now I'm going to make sure these patterns are going the same way here. This blue paper has just a very, very light pattern on it, but you can tell there. You know, it's funny, I said it doesn't matter on this, but it does matter because we cut 1 inch all the way around. It's not a perfect square, so I have to make it go the same way. It's slightly different, but it is different. So there we go. We have a nice background. And it's up to you. You could play with the numbers here and do a big, wide 2-inch border if you don't have a lot of photos. I've got several photos I want to try to fit on these pages, and I love to put as many photos on a page as possible. You could also, if you really get bold and you like math, do a 1.5-inch border. I don't recommend doing a 1 1/4 or 1 3/4 inches. Now it's not that big of a deal, and I love math. I do love it, and it's easy for me. But even that, I get a little bit confused. It's too easy to confuse myself. This is easy to remember. So now we have left room for so many photos, and I can do them, all over the place. We'll do that. We'll have fun with that later. Okay, now let's add the other elements to these pages. Pretty simple. Now we finished the cuts of our paper, and really that's the hardest part of this whole layout, and it really wasn't that hard. So if you were working directly on a Creative Memories scrapbooking page with the jeeping on the side, it's best to go ahead and use your adhesive and attach these right to the page, since they are two separate pieces. And again, we did that to save paper and to keep our album lighter. Now, if you are working in a top-loading single pocket page, or if you are doing these and going to use them later and not sure where they're going to go, then we're going to want to do some welding on the other side of this page. So we'll save that for a little bit because we don't want to cut into our other papers just yet. I've put our papers aside, and now we're going to punch the border that we're going to use. We're going to use this brown piece of striped paper, and we're really going to look at this side right here. So I've got our border maker system here, and this is the cartridge we're going to be using. It's the new, well, new as of right now, Treeline border maker cartridge. And if you've never used the border maker system, I've got a great video on that to get you started on it. I'll put that up in the top left-hand corner or in the description as well. So we're going to make our trees this way horizontally and use them horizontally. So I want the pattern to be the right side. So I like how this looks here. So I'm going to turn it this way and put it into our tray. And remember, we're just lining up that little tab right there with the 6 tabs. Kind of hard to see them here. You should be able to see those right there. And you'll feel it click when you put it in there. There's one. It's going to be 6 punches. Now we're going to trim that, and we're going to trim it at 1 1/4 inch. So you can see it. I'm actually going to flip this over so you can see the contrast a little bit better. And here's our 1 inch. We're going to go one more grid line right there. Now we're going to want 2 of these, so we're going to repeat what we just did. These look pretty good in brown, but we are going to use the other side, but you can use this side if you like. Again, trimming at 1 1/4 inch. Now we're going to use these at the bottom of our pages. And since we have the border going around, we only need 11 inches of this border instead of 12. So let's cut off 1 inch, lining up the flat side against the ledge here, and cutting off 1 inch there. I'll do the same thing here. So now we have 2 11-inch border strips. So here's the paper we have left. We have this full sheet that we can use for photo mats, and then we have this sheet where we cut off our borders. And this is one of the embellishments I got for my pages, so I want to use this with this page for a little added color on the page, and I want to make sure the stripes go the same way I'm going to put the embellishment. We should have just over 9 inches in width here, so we're going to cut it in half, roughly in half, and let's cut off 4 1/2 inches to use. We're going to add this to the right-hand page to add a little color. Now we can use this extra piece for our welding if you need it, if you're not putting this directly on a scrapbook page just yet. Okay, I will admit it is much easier to put this directly onto a scrapbooking page, but if you're not prepared to do that, or if you use top-loading pages, let's show the welding process. And I realize this may not seem like a lazy method whenever welding comes out, but again, I'm also committed to keeping albums light and saving money as well, and it doesn't take that long. So I'm just going to cut off some 1-inch strips off this extra paper that we have. 1 is plenty. Probably don't need that much. They don't have to be perfect. I ended up with 5 strips here. Okay. So, there we go. I've got this in place where it needs to be, and now I'm going to grab my tape runner, and I know myself well enough that I need to use repositionable tape on this, and I also need to get this out of the way so I don't accidentally tape it while trying to tape the other page. Let's do them one at a time. So, we have the reverse of this, and if you really want to get it straight, you can pull out your custom cutting system mat. And that just ensures we have a perfect 12 by 12 sheet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape runner on this strip and we're going to attach it to the back here. Doesn't look very pretty, I realize. Doesn't need to because it's the back, and this is just welding, which is attaching these two pieces together. And again, we're just doing this, as I've said, if you're not ready to put this directly on a traditional scrapbook page. Honestly, I really didn't need a full 12 inches here. I could have done this with maybe 11 or 10, but there we go. Beautiful, intact, great job. Let's do the other one. All right, here we go. We're going to flip it over. And again, I'm just centering this. Not that it's going to be a different size, but it just helps me make sure everything's straight. And I only have 2 strips here, so I'll cut another one off our other page. We've got plenty. And notice I'm putting enough tape runner on this so it covers both sides, both pieces of paper that I'm attaching together. So this piece I'm saving, our 4.5 inch piece. So let me just cut 1 more inch off of this piece of paper right here that we're going to use for some mats. I typically don't mat every photo. Some people like to. Totally up to you. Beautiful. And there we go. And this made it possible to use this particular paper that was double-sided because these patterns look so great together. And this way you don't have to buy a second pack of paper, which again, I'm not helping myself as a person who sells paper, but I love a good deal. All right. So now we're going to attach these. Let's go ahead and get both pages out again. If you have a silicone mat on hand, these are wonderful for attaching repositionable tape runner to these intricate patterns like these trees. If you don't have a silicone mat, if you missed out on those when we had that as an exclusive promo, then you can use a piece of parchment paper from your kitchen or a piece of wax paper. But I'm attaching these trees right at the bottom, flush with the where the 2 papers meet. And since it's only 11 inches, since we cut off that inch, it fits just perfectly. Ooh, let's don't attach that right one yet. Whoops. Okay, I almost forgot my piece of paper that I just want to kind of put over to the center here. So we're going to need to cut 2 inches off of that since we only have a 10-inch space there. So we'll turn it on its side, cut off 2 inches. And we're going to attach it right there, just to have a little extra color in the background. And I've left a couple of inches here. There, it looks nice. Now we can attach our trees on top of that. Okay, looking good. Now all we have left are our embellishments and this almost full piece of paper that we can use for mats as we need them. So I'm going to start attaching the photos now. Okay, the photos aren't attached yet, but they are in place. So I'm going to use 3 on each side, and I've got 3 full 4x6 photos here. And I'm just going to mat a couple of these. I think I'm going to mat the 2 best ones, this one and this one. And this is not me skiing. This is my sister Lori, and I wanted to use her pictures because once I chose my embellishments, I thought, oh, it'll be fun to make a skiing page, but I have never snow skied in my life. Water skied, but not snow skied, but she had plenty to choose from. So I'm going to create some mats for these 2 right here using this paper. Again, you have plenty. If you want to mat all your photos, you can almost do that. I like a thin mat. It shows up just enough and it doesn't take up too much room. It looks very neat. So these photos are exactly 4x6. So to give me 1/8 inch on all sides, I'm going to cut a 4 1/4 by a 6 1/4. I like these having the same orientation, going vertically, and then this one over here is going to be for a horizontal photo, so I'm going to cut it this way. So it's going to need to be 4 1/4 high and 6 1/4 wide. And I've got this much paper left over. I've used Creative Memories Serif ABCs in navy to add a cool title over here on my embellishment. And now I'll add this to the page with the other embellishments. I'm using all the embellishments that I got when Nicole and Debbie and I divvied them up, except for these 3 right here. I'm not sure I'm going to use them, but that's okay. Better to have too many than not enough. Let's use some foam squares. I just love these. They really add so much dimension to the page. And with embellishments, it's so easy to do. I'm just going to put this over to the side here without covering up too much. And then add this right over here. And now I've got these little skis, mittens, and hat over here that we'll add. Is that too much? That might be too much. But look what else we have. Nordic Winter includes 72 enamel stickers, and they're so sparkly, I just have to use some. We're going to make this page fancy. It's a very simple page. Oops, I left a couple behind. Very simple page, but this will dress it up a bit. Oh, these are so fun. I don't know if you can see how sparkly they are. I'm just going to add a few here and there, kind of like decorating with dot pens. I love doing that. I'm sticking to a couple of colors, just the brown and the blue. Okay, I love it. And of course, the photos are the star of the show. My sister really had some beautiful photos from this trip, and I think these pages do them justice.
I hope you found these pages easy and you learned a new technique you can use again and again. Now, hop over to watch Debbie and Nicole's videos so you can complete all 6 pages. You'll find the links to their videos in the description of this video. Thanks for watching.